a devastating explosion tears through the night sky. A massive mushroom cloud, characteristic of secondary ammunition detonations, rises over the strategic port of Novorossiysk on Russia's Black Sea coast. Multiple oil storage depots and critical ammunition dumps erupt in cascading flames, their thermal signatures visible from satellite imaging. The scale of destruction indicates precision targeting of high-value military assets. This operation marks no ordinary drone incursion. Ukrainian defense officials have confirmed the operational deployment of domestically engineered cruise missile systems, representing a significant escalation in indigenous strike capabilities. The weapons unveiled include the FLAMINGO ground-launched cruise missile and the extended-range Neptune anti-ship missile, both products of Ukrainian defense industries operating under wartime conditions, demonstrating remarkable technological resilience. These systems fundamentally alter the operational calculus of this conflict, extending Ukrainian strike range deep into Russian territory and challenging Moscow's strategic assumption of sanctuary beyond frontline regions. Simultaneously, approximately 730 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, the Kostroma thermal power generation facility sustained critical structural damage. This installation ranks as Russia's third-largest power plant, supplying electrical infrastructure to the Moscow metropolitan region. The successful penetration of Russian airspace at this depth raises fundamental questions about the effectiveness of layered air defense networks that Moscow has constructed at substantial cost over decades. The vaunted S-400 Triumph air defense systems, considered among Russia's most advanced anti-aircraft platforms, proved operationally ineffective against this coordinated cruise missile assault, exposing critical vulnerabilities in integrated air defense architecture. The strategic narrative that cessation of Western military aid would terminate hostilities has been decisively undermined by Ukraine's demonstration of indigenous long-range strike capabilities independent of foreign weapon systems. The operational reality has fundamentally shifted. The conflict, previously confined to Ukrainian territory and border regions, has now reached strategic targets deep within Russian Federation territory, fundamentally altering the risk assessment for Moscow's military leadership. During the overnight hours of November 13th, Ukrainian armed forces executed what military analysts characterize as their most sophisticated and strategically significant coordinated strike operation against Russian Federation territory since the conflict's commencement. This mission architecture exceeded conventional unmanned aerial vehicle swarm tactics previously employed. The Ukrainian General Staff issued official confirmation that this marked the operational combat debut of two newly developed cruise missile platforms. The FLAMINGO ground-launched cruise missile and the BARS cruise missile represent the culmination of Ukrainian defense industry efforts to develop strategic strike capabilities despite wartime conditions and industrial infrastructure repeatedly targeted by Russian forces. Operational deployment: FLAMINGO, BARS, and extended-range Neptune cruise missile systems achieve first combat missions. The primary strategic objective centered on the port city of Novorossiysk, located on Russia's Black Sea coastline. Defense intelligence sources confirm this installation now serves as the primary anchorage for Russia's Black Sea fleet following operational withdrawal from Crimean bases. The selection of Novorossiysk reflects Ukraine's systematic campaign to degrade Russian naval capabilities in the Black Sea theater. Following successful strikes that rendered Sevastopol untenable for major surface combatants, Russian Naval Command relocated assets to Novorossiysk, presuming greater security. This installation was designated as a secure deep-water anchorage, beyond the presumed effective range of Ukrainian strike systems. The November 13th operation shattered this strategic assumption, demonstrating no Russian Black Sea installation remains beyond Ukrainian reach. The operation involved closely coordinated elements from multiple Ukrainian security services. The Security Service of Ukraine, Military Intelligence Directorate, and State Border Guard Service executed synchronized strikes against a comprehensive target set across multiple geographical locations. Target categories included critical petroleum infrastructure, including pipelines supplying military installations, oil storage tank, farms maintaining, fuel reserves for naval and air operations, pumping stations essential for petroleum distribution networks, and port facilities supporting fleet logistics. While official confirmation remains pending, intelligence assessments, supported by the magnitude of secondary detonations, suggest a major ammunition storage depot or fleet missile magazine was struck, resulting in catastrophic ammunition cook-off, creating the distinctive mushroom cloud observed. The operational implications proved devastating for Russian naval command. Moscow's forces demonstrated inability to provide effective defense for fleet assets at their final remaining deep-water port facility on the Black Sea, raising fundamental questions about fleet survivability. As fires raged across Novorossiysk port facilities, a second coordinated wave of cruise missiles penetrated deep into mainland Russian territory, striking critical infrastructure targets hundreds of kilometers from any Ukrainian-controlled territory. The Oriol thermal power generation plant suffered catastrophic structural failure, resulting in complete facility shutdown. The city of Oriol, a major regional center, experienced total electrical blackout, affecting hundreds of thousands of residents and critical infrastructure. This facility provides essential electrical supply to numerous defense industrial installations in the Oriol region, including the Orel Techmash manufacturing complex producing military vehicles and weapon systems. The power disruption directly impacts Russian defense industrial output. However, the operation's primary strategic achievement was the successful strike against the Kostroma thermal power plant, located 730 kilometers from the Ukrainian border in the heart of the Russian interior, far beyond ranges previously demonstrated by Ukrainian strike systems. The Kostroma facility functions as a critical energy distribution node for the Moscow metropolitan region, supplying electrical power to both civilian and military installations in Russia's capital district. The strike demonstrates Ukraine can now threaten strategic infrastructure, supporting Moscow itself. Strategic assessment: Novorossiysk port complex and complex Black Sea Fleet anchorage sustained extensive damage. From a strategic analysis perspective, this operation represents a fundamental shift in the operational dynamics of this conflict. Moscow's military and political leadership have operated throughout this war on a core strategic assumption now proven invalid. That assumption held that regardless of tactical setbacks along frontline positions, the Russian homeland, particularly major urban centers like Moscow and St. Petersburg, plus industrial facilities located deep in the interior, would remain secure from Ukrainian strike capabilities. This strategic calculation fundamentally changed on November 13th. The Ukrainian General Staff has deployed game-changing capabilities that Moscow's military planners either failed to anticipate or discounted as beyond Ukrainian industrial capacity to develop and field. The weapon systems now operational include the FLAMINGO ground-launched cruise missile, the BARS cruise missile system, the extended-range Neptune anti-ship missile adapted for land attack missions, and the Lyuty long-range unmanned aerial vehicle. All represent indigenous Ukrainian development programs. The original Neptune missile system achieved international recognition when it successfully engaged and sank the Black Sea Fleet flagship, the guided missile cruiser Moskva, in April 2022, marking one of the most significant naval losses Russia has suffered in decades. President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed in recent statements that Ukrainian defense engineers have successfully extended the Neptune's operational range through modifications to guidance systems, propulsion, and flight profile optimization, transforming it from a coastal defense weapon into a strategic strike system. Intelligence assessments indicate the enhanced Neptune variant reportedly achieves operational ranges approaching 3,000 kilometers, though this remains unconfirmed. The BARS missile system demonstrates an 800-kilometer range, verified through operational employment. These range parameters place previously secure Russian military installations far beyond the Ural Mountains within Ukrainian strike envelope. Bases, command centers, logistics hubs, and production facilities that Moscow considered geographically protected now face potential targeting. The FLAMINGO system represents the most significant development in Ukrainian strategic strike capability. This ground-launched cruise missile effectively parallels American Tomahawk capabilities, providing Ukraine with a precision long-range strike option independent of Western supply chains. The strategic significance cannot be overstated. Until November 13th, Russian integrated air defense networks were optimized and calibrated to counter relatively slow, easily detectable Shahed-type loitering munitions that follow predictable flight profiles and can be engaged by conventional anti-aircraft systems. The November 13th operation introduced an entirely different threat profile. Modern cruise missiles fly at significantly higher velocities, maintain terrain-following low-altitude flight paths that exploit radar horizon limitations, and possess reduced radar cross-sections through shaping and materials, making detection and engagement exponentially more challenging. The operational outcome demonstrates complete failure of Russian integrated air defense architecture against this threat. Eyewitness accounts from Oryol residents describe explosive detonations, characteristic of high-velocity missile impacts rather than the distinctive buzzing sound of slower drone approaches. Debris patterns documented across residential apartment complexes and vehicle parking areas provide physical evidence that Russian air defense systems were completely overwhelmed by the attack profile, with interceptor missiles engaging targets only during terminal flight phase after cruise. Missiles had already overflown defensive perimeters. In several documented cases, air defense interceptors appear to have struck cruise missiles directly above urban centers only after the weapons had already released their warheads or were milliseconds from impact, resulting in debris raining down on civilian infrastructure, while still failing to prevent target destruction. Power infrastructure assessment. Kostroma and Oryol. Thermal generation facilities sustaining critical damage. This operational failure creates an impossible strategic dilemma for Russian military command. Resource allocation decisions now involve zero-sum trade-offs with no satisfactory solutions given finite numbers of advanced air defense systems available. Russian commanders must decide whether to withdraw scarce S-400 batteries from frontline positions where they provide air superiority over tactical sectors in order to redeploy them to protect strategic infrastructure. Targets 730 kilometers deep in the Russian interior like the Kostroma power plant. Additional high-value targets requiring protection include the Volgograd petroleum refinery complex, nuclear power generation facilities, major railway junctions essential for military logistics, defense, industrial plants, and even presidential residences and government facilities in Moscow itself. Comprehensive protection of all potential strategic targets is operationally unfeasible given the number of S-400 and S-300 systems available to Russian forces. Every system redeployed to interior defense weakens frontline air defense networks, potentially ceding local air superiority to Ukrainian forces.